Oh, good morning. Good morning. If you have not woken up, hopefully that wakes you up. You got a good cup of coffee with you. It's me and Jason again today, and we got David as well. And I kind of said that backwards, and it's because I'm super excited we have Jason. It's David and Bryant, the Culp and Mcniner show, and we have Jason Hurley, a good friend of ours. We've had you on a couple times, and we really do like working with you. Guys, there is a website, and Jason runs it. Jason, would you like to talk about your website and introduce yourself to the people who might have not have seen you for a while?
Yep. It's called 49erscap.com. Break down all things 49ers salary cap related, really. If you have a question about the Niners cap, I'm the guy that you should talk to. Pretty much it.
Yeah.
Been doing this
most
since
definitely.
Been doing this since 2005, so I have a track record or reputable, like, you know, I've been doing it for a while, so I feel like I've got a good handle on it.
Most definitely. You're invested, right? Some people would
Yeah.
fun, right? And that's really cool. And I don't joke. I really mean it. I believe the 49ers look at your website before they do certain things because you have the numbers to it. You have the numbers right there. It's almost perfect. So, guys, if you didn't hear him correctly, 2005, and I'm guessing that's probably about the time you jumped out of high school. Am I right?
Let me see.
I'm an 04 guy.
An 04 guy. Yeah, I was 03.
03. Okay. So, yep. Fresh out of high school, probably doing what, junior college, maybe a couple courses or.
Yeah, trying that kind of, the college working, but that didn't work out too well.
No, I think we all took a step at it, and it's either you're either forced into continuing to do it, or you found a job and you were able to justify, hey, this is making me some money, guys. So
yeah.
I did a couple courses as well, and then I ended up becoming a line cook. I became a dishwasher. Then I went to work for Dana, and Dana makes Toyota truck frames out here in Stockton, the most dangerous city in California. Shout out to Tommy Huxley. There's a joke there. Stockton's not the safest place in California, but you know what? Anywhere you go, you can be safe. Anywhere you can go, it can be dangerous, right? And I just gotta say, I don't want to live in fear, so I just try to treat everybody the right way. And you go outside and you can go. There's an article yesterday that I think from San Jose. I could be mistaken, but I believe it was from San Jose. They took off and a plane's tire came off and hit 3 cars. So who didn't tighten the tire? Who didn't check the tire? Because planes, we know they only need their tires when they land. So this is taking off, and so somebody's getting 3 new cars. We'll just say that 3 people are getting their car replaced. So
that's something. Wow, yeah.
Wild stuff happens, unexplainable circumstances. So, being safe as possible, and we were talking the other day about like just different things, CTE, cancer, and it just being sometimes just bad circumstances, bad luck, maybe in your genetics. So like unfortunate circumstances, the tire came off and it was on a plane, and, we know what happened from there, right? There was an accident. So this happens. Sometimes the same thing happens in football where there was a player, he was on a team, he got signed to a lot of money, and then it just didn't work out. Or maybe he didn't get signed to enough. So before we get too far along, right, I want to shout out everybody in the chat. Thank you all for coming. Please jump into that jersey contest. Jason, if you didn't know, we are doing a jersey contest. We'd like to make sure that you email us as well, because I know you're subscribed. So we're giving away a Colin Kaepernick jersey, and it's the real deal, like Holyfield. But what I would like to do is take a pause, make sure everybody checks that video out. But what I really want to do is say congratulations to Brock Purdy. If everybody hasn't seen the news, he's now newlywed. He's a married man, And yeah, Tommy threw out a new fun little joke too. Oh, it wasn't Tommy. I'm so sorry. It was Steve-O. Steve-O's funny. He says, "Breaking news: Pretty got married and only makes 400K now." So let's start out.
Yeah,
Let's
with the
start out with
California taxes.
right. So let's start out there. Hurley, we have a great run at the Super Bowl. We almost got it done 2 times now with this guy, Mr. Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, and the salary cap. We have him for what, another good season at a rookie deal. What
Yep.
what can you see us potentially signing Mr. Brock Purdy to?
Me personally, I see Brock in that 50 to 55 million a year range. It's so many quarterbacks are getting paid enormous amounts of money every year. I mean, we got to see what Trevor Lawrence might get. Uh, will Tua get a new deal? There's so many quarterbacks out there that, you know, every time one signs and another signs and they get more and more and more. I'm hoping Brock takes more of a lesser deal, but realistically, to be real, I personally wouldn't. If I was him, I would take as much money as I can get. Being the
Yeah.
last pick in the draft, going from being really irrelevant as a third quarterback to being truly what I believe in my heart should have been the MVP of the league last year. I mean, he should have been the MVP. I You can debate that all you want, but that's my opinion. As for the contract wise, at least 50. I'm not sure what the highest is right now, but at least 50.
So you could potentially see in the Niners at this point in Brock Purdy's, we'll just say it, marriage with the 49ers, partnership, right? Maybe a 4-year, $50 million guaranteed at least contract. Are we looking at that?
My feeling is it'll be a 5-year extension next year.
Okay.
It'll be worth at least 50 million a year. So that's God, I'm trying to do
Wow.
math off the top of
That's
my head.
250 million, right?
Yeah,
50
yeah,
50.
yeah, $250 million.
Wow.
Yeah, he's gonna get a lot of money. I mean, it's just how it is with the salary cap going up right now. $30.6 million jump from last year, and the projections are anywhere from 20 to 25 million each year after that. Brock's gonna really cash in at the right time. So I'm thinking in that 250 million range over 5 years, and you're gonna see probably 180 million of that guaranteed, maybe more. It just depends. If you thought Nick Bosa got a lot of money, wait till you see what Brock's gonna get, especially signing bonus wise. I mean, Nick got a $50 million signing bonus, but Brock's might surpass that.
David,
Wow.
you want to jump in?
Well, you see guys like Herbert signing for I think it was 62.5 million annually per season. You see Patrick Mahomes signing for that. I mean, all these guys, these contracts are getting ridiculous. There was
They
actually
are.
talk about them putting a cap on what a quarterback can make, because it's going to be getting to the point where they're taking up a third of the salary cap, just them. And how are you actually supposed to put a team around them?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's the problem. The quarterbacks are making so much money that you're seeing teams shedding their roster, their salary cap. I mean, Buffalo did it. They released like 5 guys, and they weren't like scrubs. I mean, we're talking Tre'Davious White, Jordan Poyer, guys that maybe the 49ers could use.
Well,
You know,
I think you're right onto that. Definitely right onto that. But if you guys close your eyes and you think of Dan Marino, can you really tell me anybody he played with? Right? Like really off the top of your head, really quickly, or for a regular fan, right? And you can do that again. Can you close your eyes and think of anybody John Elway played with up until 1998?
no.
Right? There's a certain quarterbacks are their team. They are that franchise, right? Steve Young and Joe Montana
Yes.
had many other good players around them that it was kind of hard for them to be foreshadowed. But then at a certain point, it's like it's your quarterback, and then what? And right now, because the quarterbacks are getting paid this amount of money, it's just really crazy. So before we go too much further, and I'll give it back to David here in a second, Jason, what's your thoughts on Mr. Russell Wilson coming to the Niners or going anywhere? Because I've heard that he would only really be looking for $1 million contract because of what
Yeah.
the Broncos
Yeah.
have.
Yeah. The Broncos owe him like 39 million this year or something like that, and he has a total over the next 2 years of an $85 million dead money hit. I don't see that. I think he wants to start, and this is Brock's team.
So, well, most definitely. But if he goes anywhere in the league and he signs for anything over the league minimum, which I believe the quarterback's roster is $1 million, if he signs for anything over that, then the Broncos are off the hook for paying him, I think, around 23 or 20 something $million. So if he just takes the,
if he takes the league minimum, which I think is 1
just a little over a million.
Yeah, it's a little bit over $1 million for the league minimum for his tenure. He would, or the Broncos would only be on the hook actually for that amount. I believe the Broncos, or no, I'm sorry, not the Broncos would be on the hook for the rest of the base salary. So if I don't know Russell's contract, what it looks like for this year, because I know they haven't released them yet because they can't until Wednesday. When the league year begins, they'll designate him a post June 1 cut, and then he'll count 85 million over the 2 years. But if his base salary, if that 39 million that he's guaranteed, basically take away 1.21, and he's still going to get $39 million no matter what.
They must have really been upset, and that's the reason I'm talking about him right now is because I believe they benched him because of the guarantees of his injury contract. If he would have got injured last year, then they would have been on the hook for the whole amount, and something similar to what they did with Carr with the Raiders. So again, I'm not for it, and I know we can't really change how the contracts are being written. That's for the players' union to get into and stuff, but it is very interesting. And we have Brandon Allen on the roster right now, or he's potentially could be re-signed, and we have Sam Darnold. So if those two leave, what would and I'm going to give it to David. What would your quarterback? Are you looking for a veteran, or are you looking for a rookie? If you're the Niners,
if I'm the Niners, I'm looking for both. I'm looking for a veteran. I'm not in the market for someone like Zach Wilson. That's not who I want. I know Mac Jones is getting traded to Jacksonville. Did not want Mac Jones either. I want someone. Sam Darnold is okay. He's not established. But I want someone who can come in and run the offense effectively. The games that we saw Darnold play, he wasn't really the greatest. He wasn't the worst, but he was in between. And I'm not opposed to Darnold coming back, but nothing like the contract he got where it had all these incentives. because excuse me, it's if Brock went down and they did go on a streak of winning, the Niners would have a lot less cap room for this coming season. I
The
was
jerseys
never
make it interesting.
really a big fan of the Darnold signing. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. I was like, okay, let's see how it works out. I was from the mindset thinking Brock's not going to be ready because I didn't think Brock was going to come back from that UCL injury that quickly and play so good. So I actually thought Trey would be the quarterback. Then Trey gets traded. Brock's playing good. Sam Darnold's the backup. They keep Brandon Allen. They got lucky, basically. Really, the luck was on their side because Purdy, he didn't miss much time. He really didn't. The only times he missed, I know the Arizona game, I believe he got knocked out for a couple plays. And in the blowouts early on, we just basically had Darnold hand the ball off or take the knee. So we didn't really.
Yeah, I believe he played a little bit in the Bengal game, and I believe he played a little bit in the Raven game. David, let's. I'm sorry, I like me. I like to talk, but let's have you jump in and ask get in on this as well. What's your thoughts for Jason?
Well, we're talking quarterback here and backup quarterback. I honestly think we're going to be drafting a guy late in the rounds because he'll be cheap, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And right now we need cheap depth because of how many big contracts we have, obviously. And you know what? When it comes to Purdy, yeah, he's going to sign a big contract at some point. That this next year is kind of a prove it consistently wise year. And then that off season is when we can actually negotiate a contract extension with him, right?
Yeah.
So that's when things are going to get real interesting with who we're keeping, who we're cutting. Things are going to be real interesting next year. But as of right now, we don't really have much cap room. I mean, we don't even have enough to sign our rookie class, do we?
Right now for 2024, we have less than $700,000. So we got to restructure some contracts because we don't even have Juwan Jennings tendered yet. And I think he gets tendered at the second round level, which is $4.89 million. That guarantees he's back. They can try to work out a longer contract. I know I've gone back and forth with people saying, "Oh, just tender him the original round tender." You lose them, you get a 7th round pick. I mean, you lose all that production, and you're just going to get a 7th round pick. When we tendered Aziz Al-Shair for the second round tender, they're going to want to guarantee that he comes back. And the way John Lynch has made it sound like they want him in the future, so they're not going to risk losing him.
Well, we got Juwan Jennings giving him a second round tender. That's going to cost us some money.
Yeah.
And it all comes down to how is the money going to get moved around? Are we going to kick the can down the road? Some of the players I'm not down to do that with. Some of the aging guys, especially like Trent Williams, he signed for many years to come.
Right.
I've never agreed with. This is one salary cap rule I've never agreed with. If a player chooses to retire, the team's still taking a big dead money cap hit.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense. And honestly, if the NFL Players Union should stand up and say, "Look, you're keeping this team from paying other players," but by restricting them that way, right?
Yeah.
But at this point, it can say we don't kick the can down the road. say we just give extensions to a couple guys like Chavarius Ward and Debo. Chavarius Ward's actually entering the last year of his contract. I wouldn't mind signing him for 2 more years, and maybe throw another year at Debo. Because he's entering year 2 of his contract. We still have him under contract for 2 years. I mean, what kind of money would that actually free up?
If they were to either restructure or extend Debo Samuel, they're looking at exact number is $15,877,600. That's the guy that they can save the most money from. As for Charvarius Ward, I don't know the exact amount. I think it's like almost 10 million. It's between 8 and 10 million that they can save. Because I actually, when I was going through everything and looking at the cap down the road, and I was looking at 2025, where I think I project that they'll have about 46 million right now in cap room. That'll go down as they sign players to multi-year deals.
Mm-hmm.
But Charvarius Ward set to count over 12 million next year in dead money from the restructures, and the fact that his original deal had void years in it. So I think they're going to try to get him extended. I mean, he led the league in pass breakups. He was a second team All Pro.
Oh, yeah.
Pro Bowler. I mean, he earned every bit of what he got last year. He earned those incentives. He got $500,000 extra last year for making the Pro Bowl and then All Pro. So yeah, I would look at Ward, because that would basically wipe out that 12 million, and that would give us an extra player signed. And I think we can keep his cap number next year under 12 million, really. The way they like to do it is they like to have the first couple of years low cap numbers and backload it. And people, some people don't like that, backloading the contracts. Remember Jimmy Garoppolo's extension? He got like a $28 million roster bonus in the first year. The only reason why we did that was because we had like 60 million in cap room, because we carried over so much from when Bulky didn't do anything in free agency.
So let me ask you about this. If we have Jimmy Garoppolo, we had him, right? And we let him go, and we got some because of Jimmy Garoppolo leaving and going to the Raiders. And now I understand, because of was it his physical? Was it him taking the PDEs? Something happened, and we went from a 4th round comp pick to a 5th round comp pick, and now there's potential we can get him back. Am I correct?
I was so confused when they released the compensatory picks yesterday or the day before. I can't remember now what day it was. That I was like, where'd we get a 4th round pick? Because the projection was a 3, a 5, and 2 6. And then I looked on over the cap, saw what the projections were for who each pick was for, and I was like, wait, we had the 99th pick? That doesn't make sense, because we set the pick in the 3rd round to get Chase Young. So I look, and yeah, the 4th round picks for Garoppolo. And even the guy who projects the compensatory picks, Nick Corte, he even was like, the team should have an issue with the NFL why a guy making 24 million a year qualifies as a fourth round pick and not a third round pick. My guess is because he didn't play much, because he got benched. But I, that surprised me. That was the most surprising thing that I three picks that were supposed to be third round picks became fourth round picks, and there's no explanation why. No one knows. The NFL hasn't said. NFL Players Association, they haven't said anything. So we
Yeah, because
really don't know why.
yeah, it's yeah, I guess it's just speculated at this point that it was some kind of failed test, and I don't know again if it was over steroids or if it was again his physical, but they're upset and he's no longer going to be there. David.
It was testosterone. That's what it was.
Yeah.
And honestly, he did the Raiders a favor because they can now get out of his full guaranteed money and everything.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
So, and shout out to James Richard Garoppolo. He never did us any favors.
No. No. He
Yeah.
basically by doing the PEDs, he voided all his guarantees that he had in his contract.
And I just don't understand if Jimmy's the guy that everybody perceives Jimmy to be, then why does he need extra testosterone when at a certain point in your life, he's not an old guy. He's
No.
about my age. He's about my age, and there you don't start losing testosterone until you get a little bit older. So I mean, even with all of his extracurriculars, folks, it's a coffee morning talk show, so we're going to keep it clean. But you understand the drift I'm getting. If he is the man we think he is, why are you needing this? So I don't know, guys. Sometimes maybe you just need to get in the weight room, or maybe I don't know. Again, maybe change your music or something like that. Maybe I don't know, but we'll go ahead and move forward, and we will definitely move forward. So, David, let's get your thoughts again. Do you have anybody that you would like to ask Jason on potentially coming to the 49ers? Is our pocket big enough for any of your dream picks?
Currently, our pockets are not deep enough to get anybody I want.
No.
I'm honestly thinking we're going to be signing depth and role players with whatever money they get freed up. However, it's going to happen, and then we have 12 draft picks. Well, no, it's not 12 because we traded the one for Chase Young.
Right.
And I think we made a trade. We made a trade for Randy Gregory. So we actually have 11 right now. And I just don't even see us using all those. I mean, is it time to trade up? Is it time to trade up and take potentially a offensive lineman that's going to be starting day one? I mean, what are your thoughts here?
I personally, I don't know the draft prospects well, so forgive me for not knowing the names. I hope they go tackle round one. I hope they try to get one of the better tackles, whoever it is. I was on Johnny Dell's podcast, and he was talking about the Guyton guy. I don't know where he goes to, or what college he went to. Potential of getting him. And then I saw Eric Crocker on Twitter saying that tackles are going to just fly off the board like they always do come draft night. I would trade up because I don't see where there's 11 real roster openings, because they are going to sign some free agents. I do think they're going to make one move where it's going to surprise people. I think that might end up at edge. And my feeling is Danielle Hunter is a player that they could go after. And basically what they would do is just do what they did with Javon Hargrave, give him a 4-year deal, first 2 years guaranteed, and low cap hit numbers for the first 2 years. And then it goes up in what, 2026 then.
So a lot of people want us to sign O line, right?
Yeah.
I'm one of the guys that would like us to sign O line, but I don't really see it happening. And the reason maybe call me crazy. Steve O here's too. He doesn't see us signing a O line, and it would be great too, but I don't see that player starting this season. So I'm looking at free agency and seeing what we could potentially get, even if it's Scuba Steve or somebody a little bit better than Scuba Steve. But if you can rock with Scuba Steve, right, and you can win with Scuba Steve, you can win with anyone, right? So if we get somebody like the guy that's coming from Buffalo, we were talking about him the other night, that would be great. Or if we could potentially, like we've already signed McKivitz, he could be the backup. He could be potentially a starting position too. We have Feliciano. We have some roster moves that we can make. Is Juice somebody that we could potentially play with his money a little bit? Not play with, you don't play with anybody's money, but can we, do some number crunching there and get a little bit more out of Juice's
Yeah.
contract?
Yeah. You can restructure his contract. Probably save a couple $1,000,000, which still it would help bring in a veteran on a 1 year $3 million contract. It could help keep someone like a Cleveland Farrell, who played well before the injury, or help keep Feliciano, as he's a pending free agent.
So what's too much to sign somebody like a Chase Young back? Because I know everybody's they are talking about letting him go. They are talking about retaining him. It sounds like if he is retained for a 1 year deal, then it's a prove it deal because they want to see him go somewhere else and play. But we basically got him for free, right? Other than having to pay for a comp pick. I think what we had to give up a third pick for him.
Yeah. Yeah, we basically gave up the 99th overall pick. Chase Young, my comp for him, when we first got him, I thought, okay, we finally got a guy opposite Nick to really do damage, and it just didn't happen. I thought, okay, the contract that he would get with us would be a multi-year deal, in the 22 to 24 mil range. Now my feeling is he's going to end up in the Jadeveon Clowney type of 1 year deal worth $10 to $15 million. Maybe not base value of 15 million. There may be like a base value of 10 million and then an extra 5 million in incentives for sacks. To get, I know, I think his total was 7.5 last year between the Commanders and the Niners. But I couldn't go more than 10 million base on him. I mean, he was non-existent.
So people are upset that we give our tackle, we just or McKivitz, we give him 7 million,
Mm-hmm.
and we're potentially offering, and we're just speculating right now, but we're potentially offering Chase Young. I mean Jog Young. Yes, that's right, Jog Young. $10 million to fill up half of the place. I don't know, guys. I think we
Yeah,
let him walk. Unless I don't know,
I
but
I think he walks unless there's a team unless each edge rusher goes off the free agent market tomorrow, like one after one after one. The Niners might get desperate and say, okay, you know, we'll give you $15 million on a 1 year deal, but it's going to have void years because they're not going to be able to afford a $15 million cap hit this year. They already have over $300 million committed between their players and the dead money that they have.
Well, there's also when it comes to free agent targets, Daniil Hunter will be 30, I believe, when the
Hmm.
season starts. So that would probably be a short term deal. But
Yeah,
there's guys
yeah,
like Denard Greenyard,
yep. And
and
Bryce
he's good
Hawk.
for 8 to 10 sacks. He's a good edge, and they're looking at mid money for guys like him. It's kind of weird. Like I think Brian Burns was franchise tagged. Bryant,
Yep, yep.
there's
He's
I think he was franchise tagged.
yeah,
So
he,
they
he 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 was tagged, and I think the Panthers tagged him with the intention of trading him. But it's what is he going to demand contract wise? That's the problem. Does he want Nick Bosa money? We can't afford Nick Bosa money times two. You know, two contracts like that. We can afford a $20 million contract opposite Nick, just because the cap is just going to keep going up and up and up. But if he wants an extraordinary amount of money, it's just not feasible.
and I don't think now our front office has surprised us, like the Hargrave deal. Did anyone see that coming?
No.
You know, there were reports that we were in on Demron Payne, the guy from the Commanders, who they ended up tagging and signing him long term.
Hmm.
And that, at his age, he was only, I think, 26, 20. He played the season at 27. That's Demron Payne. So that would, make more sense for us to get younger, not older.
Yeah.
And the Chase Young, he's only 24.
Right.
Turns going to be 25 at the start of the next season. He's young. That Grenard guy I just said, he's 26. You know, so there are options out there, guys that are good for 7 to 10 sacks a season that can play opposite of Bosa, that aren't going to demand the 25 million plus a year.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yep.
honestly thinking our front office always seems to pull a rabbit out of the hat. And that's kind of what I'm expecting this year. There's a couple guys like the Patriots offensive tackle whose name I am not going to try to pronounce. I'm not going to
Yeah.
hack his
Yeah.
name up.
Yeah. I can't pronounce it
That
either.
that guy, we could end up signing him, for a few years. And McKivitz has actually played guard. He
Yeah.
has in his first 2 seasons with us. He played guard. So why not move him in to right guard, where he's not going to be dealing with the speed rushers so much, and put a good offensive tackle on the right. There are many options the 49ers can do. And it's always seems to be a surprise when they do something and that we're not expecting or seeing, and
Yeah.
the speculation train has no brakes. We're in on every free agent and everyone up for trade, and
Yeah.
that's just the talking heads doing their job and getting clicks, right?
Yeah. 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 That's you see a lot of people saying, "Oh, the 49ers are going to be in on Joey Bosa. They're not going to trade for Bosa. He's got a $20 million cap hit, base salary, I think it is. That would have to be reduced big time." Um, Fans, I mean, 49ers Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, they're all. I have where I keep refreshing just 49ers to see if any news breaks. And everything is always like, oh, Tre'Davious White's there at 49ers, get him. This guy, get him. This guy, get him. It's like, this isn't Madden. There is a limit to how much you can spend, and there is a limit to how much the cap can really hold. So, someone like a Grenard, I think he plays for Houston, the
It,
Texans. Is he a
yeah.
Texan? Yeah, and the other kid from the Jets, Bryce Huff, is another one that
Mm-hmm.
I've heard people like. If they really do surprise us, would they go right guard? Would they go a Robert Hunt? Would they go Graham Glasgow from the Lions? I mean, I put it as, are you willing to overpay a guard in this market when you can probably keep Feliciano for $5 million a year, maybe a little bit more with incentives, and a guy that really didn't do bad at all. I mean, he came in and the Giants game, I think it was, when Banks got hurt, and he played really good in the position. And then they had him rotating in with Spencer Burford. And I thought, okay, this Feliciano guy, he's pretty good. Everyone was like, we got a trash signing. He came from the Giants, this and that. And it's like, I'm the kind of person that's like, wait and see. Let's wait and see how he plays. It's like with the draft. I don't get upset if we don't get this player or that player because honestly, I don't know the prospects that well. I don't go out of my way to research all the prospects. It's just too time consuming. And I don't want to be one of those people that gets all upset that we didn't take this guy over that guy.
Well, I do know they call us fans for a reason. We're fanatics.
Mm-hmm.
Some people aren't
Yeah.
fans. Some people are more. They're not fans. You don't even have to say they don't go into that passionate thing. Because they go into it a totally different way. And I'm not going to put you into that boat, even though you're a little bit different. You're more into the numbers area than maybe me, maybe
Yeah.
David, but you're still a fan, and I really truly see it. But because fans like to dream, and because
Yeah.
there's definitely news out there, they like to write it. So when you see somebody of another player on our team wearing his brother's jersey, and then you hear his family come
Mm-hmm.
out and say how great this organization is, and how great they treated one of their family members, and how great all of this, right? And then you're like, and then you hear how horrible they've been treated in their stadium and their franchise. You're
Yeah.
like, so then you start to like, okay, now you got that like you're at the dinner table. It's not the dinner table. You went to Denny's, right? And now they got the coloring paper there, and they are playing connected dots. And I'm drawing Bosa to the 49ers. Why am I doing it? Because they got the picture. They got it all laid out there. I could see potentially maybe his brother taking a pay cut. I could see, we lose, a couple players as well. If we let Chase Young go, Kinlaw go, do the Niners at that point potentially have enough to sign him? And the reason I'm asking this is what's the difference between like guarantees and incentives and backloading the contract? If we was to say, okay, you could come, what's your price? And we make it where it's guaranteed, and he or a sinus bonus, guaranteed sinus bonus. How can we finagle this where it is potentially worth it? Because Jason, I don't see us signing BA Brandon, and I know I'm all over the place, but I don't see us signing Brandon Ayuk until after the draft, until right before the last preseason game.
Right.
So
Yeah, I think Joey Bosa is a possibility if he gets cut, which I think is probably what's going to happen with him and Khalil Mack. The Chargers are pretty much starting from scratch with Harbaugh. Harbaugh is going to want his own guys. But with Joey, they can do it. The
how much?
difference between how much that is, that's the one thing I'm struggling to figure out. I
Because
mean,
if you, I'm
you
sorry, But because in the same, we were talking, if we was to give Chase Young $10 million, could we give that to Joey Bosa?
Oh yeah, I mean we could give Joey Bosa probably. Uh, we could probably give him a multi-year deal worth like 15 to 20 million a year if we wanted to. We will be able to make the cap room work. We'll be able to make the cap work, not just this year, but in the future. People like to say we're going into cap hell again. We're not. I've already proven that on my website. I try to. I'm the type of person that I don't want to brag or anything, but I try my best to say, hey, you're wrong. This isn't going to, they're not going into cap hell. They're not going to trade Brandon Ayuk. They're not trading Debo. They're not cutting juice. They're not doing this or that. They're not shedding the roster because they don't need to. Even though the cap this year is not good because of so many players making so much money, and a lot of the money that you see on the cap numbers are prorated bonus money from previous signing bonuses and restructures. So really, I mean, why I say Debo is the guy that you can save the most is because he has the highest base salary. But with Joey Bosa, I think it's possible. It's going to depend on what he wants. You know,
Yeah.
Nick, he's going to want to be paid. Uh, you know, I'm not going to say like elite, but a premium pass rusher. Now, do the Niners put in protection versus injuries? Because he does have injury concerns, I guess you could say. He has past injuries. So, yeah, I mean, it's possible. They could do incentives. Incentives basically are you say you give a guy $5 million in incentives for getting 15 sacks. You're probably breaking it down into like 1 million for this amount, an extra 1 million. So if he say for 5 sacks, or he can get 1 million. If he had 5 sacks last year, I don't know Bosa's numbers from last year, then that would count against the cap.
Okay.
Anything.
So if you accumulate or if you're rewarded because of your incentive, that goes against the cap. Now, if you don't earn your incentives, does that still go against the cap?
If you don't earn the incentives, you if you don't earn the incentive that is counting against the cap, like the likely to be earned incentives, you don't get that. That actually comes back to the team as a credit, or they call it adjustments. That's
And
why
then,
the 40 that's why the 49ers have over $5.6 million in adjustments, because Feliciano didn't get his 1 million. Darnold didn't see any of his $1.8 million that he was uh, that counted against the cap.
no, the adjustments, do they go into the cap, or like then the next year they are rolled into that cap, or do they stay in a separate bucket, like a separate bracket for adjustments?
They adjustments are basically made up of contract guarantees that you gave out that you cut the player. Say the player got $1 million guarantee in his bone and his sign and his base salary. He gets cut at the deadline when you do the 53 man roster. Anybody cut at the 53 man roster cut down that has guarantees in the contract, the team will get that back the following year as adjustments. It counts as dead money in the current year, but the next year they get that money back. That's why the Niners they it also applies to per game roster bonuses, undrafted free agent guarantees. A number of things go into the adjustments. Not achieving incentives.
So dead money doesn't necessarily hurt a team, but it doesn't help the team until the following year, and then that dead money then can come back to the team, and then or is that different?
The dead money, if it's basically money that is already guaranteed in the contract for that year, so I can't think off the top of my head if we caught anybody who had dead. Yeah, T.Y. McGill had $400,000 guaranteed in his base salary this past season. He didn't make the 53-man roster. He got cut. That counted as dead money because he made enough money off the practice squad as well as being elevated to the active roster a couple times. The Niners get that back in 2024 as part of what they call adjustments, cap adjustments. The dead money, people mistake the whole dead money thing. They think like, oh, D Ford's off the books now, we get that money back. No, I mean, that money was for that year's cap. That was money that was paid to the player already. You can go after certain players' signing bonuses, like we talking about players retiring, how it's unfair that a team gets a big dead money hit. If a player retires, he forfeits any guaranteed money he has in his base salary. Now the remaining prorated bonus becomes dead money, but the team can go after the prorated signing bonus, and that would be paid to them. And I think it's in installments, like payment plan type thing. So they would get it like a certain amount in 2025 and then 2026 and 2027, that kind of thing. Just for example.
So it does come back and it does go to the salary cap. It just will go back in a slower amount of time.
Yeah.
So, like, say we extend Ayuk before the end of the league year.
Okay.
What would that do to our number?
Extending Brandon would actually save the team. They can save the team nearly $8 million against the cap. That would help them sign. That would help them sign their draft class. They're probably not going to need a lot of cap room to sign their draft class because it's likely only their if I always say if because we don't know what's going to happen on draft night. They're going to trade down, trade up, trade all around the board. We don't know. So whatever cap number would count against the top 51, like say they have a first and a second, but they trade it back in the third, and that player or that pick that they got that like ends up being in the fourth round, like they trade out of the third round to get more picks, or if they trade up and get more picks from the fourth round, those picks that would count that have higher than the 51st player on the top 51, they would count along with the signing bonus proration for the rest of the draft picks. So in a way, the Niners currently would need like $12 million in cap room to sign their draft picks, but in reality, it's more like $3 million because only a few of the players are counting as the top 51, and then the prorated bonuses count.
So, folks, I gotta remind everybody we're dual streaming. We're on Brian and Mai's channel. So if you're depending on whose channel you're watching on, if you could pop over to the other guy and hit the like button, we both appreciate it. But so we extend Ayuk, and typically they do it way late. That's something I've actually never liked. I'm just being honest here.
Same here. Same here.
Well, there's several things it does. That number one, you let someone else set the market, so now the price for that player just went up.
Mm-hmm.
And then you extend them so late, they're like missing time in training camp, and like Bosa this last year. There are many things that happened that I don't like. Like Fred Warner, when we did his extension, he showed up.
Yeah.
He showed up and he did his job. He was with us the whole time. He didn't hold out. He didn't do anything like that. But then we had Bosa, that situation, he ended up holding out till a week before the season started. And I feel like that affected his whole season.
Yeah, I think he admitted that affected his season.
Yep. Yep. And, I mean, at this point, it's like extend Brandon Ayuk. Then there's the money to pay for our rookie class. And then they can extend Ward and Debo, and there's a little bit of money to play with in free agency. Mm-hmm. And that's three moves that's for, young players too. All these players are going to be young. Mm-hmm. Debo's not old. He still has 3 good years left in him, right? Even with his playing style.
Yeah.
Ward just made all pro for the first time in his career.
Yeah.
So, he's in his prime now. So keeping him an extra season or two is not going to hurt.
No.
This is just how I view it. Yep. And we're probably going to extend and keep Ayuk unless someone, blows the whole fleet out of the water with a nuke or something like that with a trade offer, and which the Niners, they admit that they take calls. Mm-hmm. They'll take calls on anybody. If they'll actually talk about it to them, that's a totally different story.
Right.
But, we've had so many problems drafting wide receivers over the years. I want to keep Ayuk and Debo if possible. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yes. Me too.
But it's almost like our older players, do you think we're going to see them kick the can down the road on a guy like Trent Williams and Kittle? I really hope not, honestly.
I don't think Trent Williams' contract will get restructured again. I think something tells me, just a hunch that he's going to play out his contract, or at least play till 2025, play 2 more years, and then 2026 he'll retire, or he'll retire after 2026. Something just tells me that he's not going anywhere anytime soon. He even said he wants to play another couple years, but I wouldn't expect that to happen for restructuring, and I wouldn't do Kittle either, only because he's already got dead money in 2026, along with Debo and Christian McCaffrey, because of the restructurings that they did last year. So George Kittle is one of those players that I don't ever want to see wearing another uniform. To me, he's like synonymous with what the 49ers are right now. And I truly believe that guys like Debo, Kittle, CMC, they'll be extended before their contracts are up, before they void. That way they don't incur those dead money hits. But this year, I think the top 2 candidates for restructuring are Debo and Fred Warner. Warner would save a little over $11 million. And he signed through 2026. People are getting that mistaken that he somehow his contract is voided after this year. there was a buyback option bonus that the 49ers had to pick up within, I think, 5 days after the end of the regular season, which I'm sure they did because they're not going to let him go. He's the best off ball linebacker in the league, and they basically it's worth 3.6 million, gets prorated over 2 years, and it rescinds the void years that were technically in the contract for 2025 and 2026. So it means to me, when I hear rescinds, that to me says the void years are no more the void years. They're actual contract years.
Well, my last question, and then I'm going to give David. And if David has anything else, of course, David, we got Jason. We got Jason now. It's time to ask Jason the questions, but I want to keep mindful for Jason as well. Jason, thank you so much for coming. But here's my last question: is restructuring a player's contract, in your opinion, an offensible, a offendable, a is it like a deal breaker? Is it something that you just don't do, or is it something that most players should be aware of, conscious of, and expect to happen?
Here's the thing about restructuring contracts. In a lot of NFL contracts that are signed, they actually give the right to the team to actually automatically restructure the contract. The player just needs to sign it. They can automatically have the player restructure. Now, a couple of years ago, I think it was Kyle Rudolph of the Vikings. He refused to have his contract restructured because he didn't want to, take less money. But the thing is, they're not taking less money. They're getting that money that they were owed anyway. It's just prorated over the life of the contract. I don't feel like it's an offensive type offense, like a bad thing, because if this was 10, 15 years ago, I would say yes, because the cap was so small and you weren't paying players 40, $50 million, $60 million a year back then. I can't even remember off the top of my head how much, Patrick Willis was making each year. I mean, I think it was like 10 million, and that's like a bargain now. So restructuring a contract now, it's kind of necessary. This kicking the can down the road, thing, it can come back to bite you, and you know what? It can. It did to it's doing it to the Saints, and I'll tell you why. Drew Brees. Every year they restructure Drew Brees' contract. They restructured the same players every year, and now they're feeling the effect. They were 100 million over the cap, I think 2 years ago, and then 60 last year, and then they're like 20 or 40 million over now, or were, because they got rid of a couple guys or restructured some guys.
Yeah, and they're not even like one of the top NFL teams.
No, yeah, I mean, they were with Breeze, and now that Breeze and Sean Payton are gone, they're bottom tier. They don't have that top tier talent anymore. I think they're releasing Michael Thomas now. If that report is true, that's
Man, he's a good player. He's a good player.
yeah, but he's got the injury concerns. He hasn't played much the past couple years, so that's the problem. But yeah, I don't see anything wrong with restructuring contracts. It's just the way the NFL is nowadays. It's what you have to do, what you have to do to get under the cap, and kicking the can down the road is fine now for me, because the cap is seeing such giant increases, and the increases are because of the new TV deals with like Fox, CBS, ESPN, Amazon Prime, the NFL Sunday Ticket deal with YouTube and Google. So that's, they're making a lot of money. They got a lot more money this year than they thought they were going to get in revenue. That's why originally they were saying it was going to be $242 million cap, but everybody that I would talk to, other people who do this like I do, we were all saying like we thought 256 million would be the cap for this year, and it came pretty close, 600 grand less. So yeah,
Jason, man, I'm so thankful and always appreciative when you come. David, what do you have left for Jason? And hopefully we can get you back on here real soon, Jason. Again, you know how to get a hold of us, and we definitely we would like to have you on as often as possible. But you are in hot demand this time around this season. It's the season of the cap, and we do appreciate you. So go ahead, David.
Well, at this point, I got nothing. I think I asked everything you know that I was curious about, right?
Perfect. So, Jason, I will ask you to please email me, screenshot the 3 YouTube channels. Corey, our good buddy, and David to me. You know, if you're subscribed to all 3, we'd like you to get into the drawing. It's going to be next week's the last couple days, so we only have it, and then you'll be getting a official Colin Kaepernick jersey if you win, or if anyone else who's watching. We're going to go ahead and end with the outro. It's our little video to show everybody the descriptions and all the words that you need to know on how to enter. It's a free jersey giveaway. We just want to appreciate and show appreciation to people like you and anyone else.
It's signed and authenticated, folks. You got to be subscribed to Bryant Culp, me, David Mcniner, and Corey Davis with a K. Corey Davis.
That's right. There is a C out there, and it's kind of neat. But Corey Davis, you'll see his big face, and it's a nice smile, and we'll definitely you'll probably see something like this, or maybe something like that there as well. So, folks, if you don't mind, enter the jersey giveaway. There's not been a lot of interaction, a lot of, but you got a good chance. So jump in, and we hope to see you get a chance to win. That's what we really would like. And thank you very much, Jason, and everyone for watching and coming. Appreciate you. Folks, we appreciate you. This is what it looks like. It's even got its tag still on it, guys. It's brand new. Like Nike says, just do it. We hope you enter. We hope you get a good chance to win, and we'll see you next time. Go Niners.